If my options are Smol Raphtalia or no Smol Raphtalia in a single episode, an arc, whatever it may be, and those two are choices, I'm obviously always going to go with Smol Raphtalia. Now, the reason I bring this up is, I guess, given how the source material went about the prison sequence, Raphtalia wasn't a part of that. I guess it was Naofumi and I assume Risha, because otherwise I would think I would have saw similar comments about how things have been changed. But for me personally, if I'm looking at it in terms of pure enjoyment, as much as I'm not on the fence of, and this is just based on my own observations, I've seen far more people say they're not a fan of Risha, whether they've read the source, whether they're anime original, then I have seen people say I love her, or in my case anyway, how I feel, are okay with her. Like, I think she serves the purpose she needs to, but I'm not going to say I love her or hate her. So for me, if I'm thinking about it, not only just because Smol Raphtalia is adorable and she's fun, and we're a part of a world where they're reversed back to level 1, I mean, it makes more sense to show as much of that kind of cute dynamic as possible, especially given that otherwise it would just be Naofumi by himself, and that's not really going to be all that interesting, at least for me. So, personally, those are the kinds of changes I like, though I get it if people read it a certain way and expected it to be a certain way, so I just wanted to cover that because I know people are going to bring it up in the comments. But for me, if you give me the option of Smol Raphtalia, I'm going to choose Smol Raphtalia 100% of the time. That's just how I am. And I saw a really funny comment. I can't remember if I read it in the Crunchyroll comment section or if it was on Reddit, but it was something along the lines of light novel readers / source readers. When Smol Raphtalia is a part of a scene that she's not supposed to be, we get upset. And then it's like anime only fans, Smol Raphtalia equals best episode. And I just thought, if that ain't the truth, I don't know what is. But this episode was one I've been excited for because I actually had a couple of people say in my comments over the past couple of episodes anyway, that, you know, the upcoming arc is one of, if not, I even saw some people say their favorite arc. So that's pretty cool, even though I doubt a majority of people would ever claim, you know, the next arc coming up would be the all-time best, given I kind of feel like initially that initial arc is the one that hooks people in the most, and then it takes until near the end game for the vast majority to say, okay, this is without a doubt, it finally surpassed it, sort of a thing. But to see so many people just eager to move on from the tortoise arc and, you know, just see something different. And then they start establishing that, you know, we're kind of going into that isekai within an isekai world, which is pretty cool because you knew immediately, even if it wasn't characters not knowing what waves are, you knew we were going to see different heroes. We knew we were going to see things that are quite similar, but would twist our common knowledge of what we've come to know and expect with Naofumi on its head. And that's what makes an episode like this so cool. It didn't need to do anything explosive. We barely had any action. There was a quick moment with the hunter hero here. But I ultimately enjoyed this episode so much because the world mechanics that this show has going on for it has always been something that's entertained me. You can go back into my earlier videos of Shield Hero when Naofumi was changing his shields for the first time. The idea of picking plant life and those low-level monsters, to me, that's the fun stuff. It really is. And to see them going back to square one, but no longer being ignorant to how to survive a world like this, it's cool to see Naofumi, you know, have to pick himself back up and not struggle as much as he did the first go-around, and then to immediately see someone who can be an ally, potentially anyway, and the fact that they're supposedly locked in this, like, infinite labyrinth. And the labyrinth was a pretty cool idea, even though it didn't last too long. Given how long the tortoise lasted, I'm actually glad they're not dragging things out, because as cool as it was to see the different variety of forest, there was almost like an ancient Egyptian looking place, one kind of looked like a cathedral, like there was all these different rooms and things, but ultimately they were trapped. And the idea that when he brought up stuff that should be common knowledge, you would think to heroes, especially given previous conversations we've had with Glass, right? The idea of waves is seemingly common knowledge, universally agreed upon in terms of even different worlds. But then this girl has no idea, and she says, I was summoned for a different reason. It's very interesting, right? Because everything about her is quite different than even, I would say, Lark as well as Glass. Like, the idea that her weapon, it can't hurt people. Like, she literally smacks Naofumi with what should be a sword, and, you know, it was maybe the brute force of it was a little ow that might give me a bruise, but nothing that could actually kill him. And it was cool because it almost was like a fishing rod sword. It would extend down, she can use it to cast a line, which could be good for, like, grappling, as we see at the end of the episode, but it was just a visually creative weapon, if you ask me, and one of the cooler ones I think we've seen in some time. And I'm curious to see what ultimately got her locked there, but also if releasing her is going to cause a good or bad thing to happen, maybe a bit of both, because, I mean, if Naofumi meets back up with some of the characters we've come to know and expect, or even new characters that we might experience in this world, is releasing her going to be something that is going to be seen as a negative more often than it will be seen as a positive sort of thing? Because according to her, she's besties with characters like Glass and stuff, but the idea that, you know, there's always that what if, especially when you hear characters in prison, they seem quite nice, but what's that going to mean for the future of this world and how long we're going to be here? Because even though they're back to square one, they have to level up from scratch and all that type of stuff, to me, like, it's kind of fun because now you have, it's almost like going into a new playthrough of any video game. Even if you're not going in New Game Plus with all your previous stats and equipment, you still have the knowledge. You know enemy placements. You know how to work the game mechanics at a low level. So for Naofumi, despite it's going to have differences. It's going to have, like, characters not knowing what ways are, or just, you know, different abilities that he doesn't come to expect. He doesn't even recognize his own shield, right? But at the end of the day, he does know how to be smart at a low level and utilize things that, as an example, at the end of the episode, he knew how to break through that bug barrier. It was almost like reaching the end of a world, but basically the wall was never supposed to be broke. And because he broke it, it was just a white wall of nothing. So the idea that he doesn't have the skill levels to make what he needs to, but this girl, who clearly can, and then he can utilize his own intelligence to do so. So even though he's technically hindered, he's now with an ally, at least an ally for now. You never know what's with Shield Hero, who can be friend to foe and then back and forth. Ultimately, though, it's very fun to see that. So for me, this is an episode I imagine will probably have a mixed response, as most of the episodes of Season 2 have, especially given that they did decide to, for like the Source Reader side, you know, change things up and add characters in places that they weren't originally. For me, though, it's just a damn fun episode that goes back to what I consider to be the basics of Shield Hero. Looking at a world, seeing it through almost a gamer's eye, and then seeing how the mechanics can be twisted around and doing such cool things while having a bunch of adorable scenes. Like, honestly, I didn't know I needed almost a Shield Hero cooking moment, but it was fun to see that, especially given how this girl clearly has been locked alone, didn't know how to cook that well for herself, and then to see the sheer joy in her being freed, it kind of said it all to me. I mean, I love Shield Hero. I could watch episodes and arcs that are just kind of exploring and doing simple things. The main thing that had the Tortoise arc kind of like wearing down for me was it just kind of felt like they were extending conflict to pad out episodes where I wished it was a little more condensed. There's a lot of people who like Shield Hero when it is constantly evolving action. There's other people who like it when it's simple downtime slice of life. There's a lot of different Shield Hero fans out there. So for me, this is the type of episode and arc that really speaks to me personally. But I could also get it if it isn't quite what people want after coming off of maybe Season 1, right? But thoughts, if you have any, down below. What did you think? Because we're now officially into this new arc. I imagine this arc will last the remaining episodes of Season 2, and then when we come into Season 3, it will probably be a new one. But thoughts if you have any, theories if you got any, since we are in that new environment. What do you hope to see maybe with the new world and twisting things that we've come to know and expect? Let me know down below. Leave a like if you enjoy and subscribe if you're new around here. Till next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.